In 3, 2, 1, I just hit the button. Welcome to the Bid Nerds, your daily nerd out on the most interesting cars and bids, and bring a trailer. My name is John Polnik. I'm coming to you live from the Las Vegas Strip in beautiful Las Vegas, downtown Las Vegas, Nevada, along with my partner, Michael Deeb. Look at that. He's from California. He's in San Francisco right now. The two of us are coming to you to talk about cars on Cars and Bids and Bring a Trailer. We're going to give you our, do we call it auction advice, Michael? I don't know. That seems pretty scary. You don't want to take our advice.
Yeah, that's entirely too technical for us.
Part of nerding out on the most interesting cars on Cars and Bids and Bring a Trailer every morning is predictions. Michael and I have a bit of a competition going on. It's a gentlemanly competition, except that apparently this week I'm much better at it than him. Did you hear that? I just threw that down. I threw down the gauntlet. Wow. We're going to go over our 5 picks from yesterday. That's how we're going to start this show off and see how it went. Michael, you want to talk about what really quickly, happened yesterday?
Really quickly, just a recap from yesterday. I am getting my ass kicked. The only spot from Tuesday the 15th was the 1995 Mercedes-Benz G320 wagon. I guessed 35,000, and you guessed 39. That car brought 35,500.
Wow. That was that one. You stole my thunder on that one. I was so gonna take. I was gonna say 35, and then I don't know. In our conversation, I got all excited about it, and I went way over you. I don't know. I should have just gone. I should have gone prices right and just gone a little above, and I would have had. I would have swept the day. Yeah. All right.
You would have. Yeah, you stole it. The really cool 79 Alpha Turbo Delta out of Germany. Brought a little more than both you and I predicted. I said 27.5. You said 28.5. That car brought $29,999 and sold at that price. Very interesting. The really cool all-terrain Overland 1992 Toyota Land Cruiser, the HDJ80 with the diesel and the manual gearbox. $29,000 was bid. $30,000 was your bid. That car out of New Jersey got $39,000. Interestingly, Cars and Bids had a normal gasoline automatic in similar condition from a similar era that barely brought $8,000 yesterday at the same time.
That is amazing, considering how well Cars and Bids does with Land Cruisers. This car, you asked after we gave our bids, could this thing keep going? Is there sky above what we're talking about? And the answer most assuredly was yes, but both of us were far more conservative, not realizing just how crazy this car would go. That auction went for what, another half hour after the original scheduled close time?
Yeah, it's interesting. It stayed on for a while. You said such nice things about the car. I wanted to change my bid, and I should have. So, anyways, moving on. We also looked at a 1988 Nissan Pulsar NX, something I would consider the moped of cars. You wouldn't want to get caught driving one, but I guess it's sort of fun to drive. I didn't believe in this vehicle. I said $2,688, and you said $3,300. The car brought $3,188 and sold at that price with like 55,000 original miles or something really ridiculous. But the auction of the day, without a doubt, I have some notes from JP. It's a 2004 Porsche Boxster, the anniversary, the 550 anniversary S with a manual gearbox and like 47,000 miles out of Northern California. When we looked at that car with about an hour to go, it was around 14,500. I guessed 18.5. You guessed 19.5. This car got 59 bids and sold for a whopping $26,750, proving that you can quantify the 550 Special Anniversary Edition is worth more money than a standard Boxster S, because that car had no bids bringing that kind of money.
Yeah, I still, what I said yesterday, I stand by it. You'd be way better off spending that money on a second-gen Boxster, a Boxster S of the same, you'd call it a 2006, 5, 2007. Boxster S in that generation, so much better car in every way, not just the way it drives, but the way it looks, everything about it.
It was fun talking to you. You and I were texting while this auction was closing. As this car went by our bids and into that $20,000 range, you were saying you'd rather have a second-gen Boxster S. And then when this car got into the mid-20s, you changed your tune. You said, I'd rather have any 911 convertible over this.
For sure, right? I mean,
Yeah,
once you start getting in the mid-20s, you are in 911 territory, and there's no Boxster that fit. I just, yeah, whatever. And I'm not pooping on Boxsters. I do love the Boxster, but yeah. All right. Well, okay, so I should note that as much as I gloat and how well I'm doing on our predictions this week, last week started out almost identically, except that I was you had 8 bids by the end of Tuesday. You had 8 correct to my 2. And somehow by the end of the week, I was able to catch up to you and actually win for the week by like 1 or 2 points. So it's anybody's ball game, guys. If you're following along and playing with us, this goes all over the place. We want to hear your bids. We're going to talk about the most interesting cars of today's Cars and Bids and Bring a Trailer right now. Go in the comments and tell us what you think about our bids and our predictions, and let's hear yours. Are you better at this than Michael Deeb and I? Let's find out. All right, let's get to the cars. Michael Deeb, what do we got?
All right, so we're going to start off on Cars and Bids, and out of Caldwell, Idaho, is a 1991 Audi 200 Quattro. This is a pretty cool and actually kind of rare car. It's got the manual 5-speed, and it has the 2.2-liter inline 5 with the turbocharger. This basic architecture is the motor that was in the Audi, the famous Audi RS2, that was re-engineered and sort of finished off by Porsche. And those cars, big collector money. Doug DeMiro mentions that he owns an RS2, but this 20-valve 2.2-liter inline 5 is a really cool car. It kind of brought Audi's rally racing technology to the sedan. I believe they only made this platform with that drivetrain for 1 year, if I'm reading this correct. This car has 262,000 miles on it, so it does have some real wear and tear on the car, but it looks like they've addressed almost everything. The list of modifications, JP, is something that I would think any enthusiast would want to do to his own car once he realizes he's not detracting from the value of it. And all of these things, in my opinion, from what I've read, would enhance the driving experience. 17-inch wheels, H&R springs, Coney shocks, new motor mounts, and a valve cover, bigger exhaust, high-flow cat, European headlights and sports seats and gauges. It's just, I don't know, it's just a really cool car. It looks beautiful on these A6 17-inch wheels that have kind of a machine face to them. I don't know. I love this car. It looks really nice. Despite the high miles, this is going to be a great value for somebody, and you're just not likely to see another one if you go on a driving event or a Cars and Coffee. This is a no-reserve auction out of Caldwell, Idaho. Take it away, JP.
It really is kind of the perfect car for someplace like Idaho. I mean, with the weather, if you're in any kind of inclement weather, this really is kind of the ultimate classic car that you can drive all year long. You gotta love a manual 5-speed in something like this. This car looks like you could be an extra out of Ronin. You could be in the same car chases with those guys. I believe they did have, what was that, the RS2 in that actual movie?
No, it was the S8.
It was the S6? S8.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So
S8, yeah.
This is the predecessor to that now, or tell me about that.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct, yeah.
So, I mean, they added the Fat 5 wheels on there that gives it that sporty look. I kind of wonder what the original wheels looked like on this car. It probably looked much more boring. Probably looked like my Aunt Helen's Audi 5000 that you wouldn't really bat an eye at. The thing about, these interiors were so ahead of their time. Now, this is in the early 90s, so cars had interiors had really caught up. But this interior came out in, what was it, 1985? Is that correct? Was the first year of the 5000, like 84, 85? And it looked very similar. And that was a decade before other manufacturers really started making cool interiors. Audi has always had their S together when it comes to interior design for cars. This car, I love it. Would love to own it. The high miles do scare me a little bit, but that means you can just drive the living hell out of it. Michael Deeb, what's your bid on this thing?
So surprisingly, this car's only got 5 bids on it. It's sitting at like $4,500, and it's a no-reserve auction. So it's got to be some sort of late surge. I don't believe this car is going to go for $5,000. I would think that just what you're looking at, the modifications and all the regular maintenance, because this car's clearly been driven, I would think the value would be at $8,000. But There's no action. I'm going to say $6,800.
Yeah, I think as cool as the car is, it really is a utility car. Whoever owns this is going to use it to drive it until it just breaks down. I mean, this really doesn't have any collector value. You look at unfortunately, start looking at this car closely. The hood, the trim, all the little Audi bits start to sag and not quite line up. That front bumper and the way the hood is just kind of like not matching the fender and everything. It's a little sad. It's kind of like, hey, look, there's a hot chick. And then you get a little closer and you're like, oh, okay, Yeah.
Far from good.
Far from good. This car needs braces. Okay. What a fun car to drive around in. I'm sorry, what was your bid? 6,000 what?
800.
6,800. I think this car is going to languish pretty much where it is. We're at only 6 bids, and I'm gonna say 5,500. I don't think it gets. If it gets any more bids today at all, I'm gonna be kind of surprised. What a cool car, though.
Let the Bid Nerds community be aware. JP hates Audis.
I actually do really like this Audi. If I had a cabin in the Northwest, if I had a cabin on Coeur d'Alene or something like that, and I wanted to go visit in the wintertime and hang out for Christmas, how cool would this car be to have in your log cabin garage to drive around in? Yeah, this would be
right.
Yeah,
except if it's sat in Coeur d'Alene. Except if it's sat in Coeur d'Alene all year, so you showed up to drive it, it would never.
Probably not ever start. Okay, well, let's move on to the next car.
All right, jumping over to Bring a Trailer, we're going to look at a 12,000-mile 2006 Ferrari F430 Spider with the vaunted 6-speed manual car. I'm just obsessed with these cars because it really is the last sports car that Ferrari made that offered a manual transmission. And while the F1 gearboxes were made in greater numbers, the 6-speeds bring ridiculous money, and I just think it's fun to watch these auctions close. The last one that wasn't a conversion brought nearly $250,000. JP, can you imagine? Just a standard F30 with a 6-speed manual, $250,000. This car is 12,000 miles. It's beautiful, black and tan with the Daytona seats. Looks like all the service and maintenance is up to spec. This car is at $170,000, and it's already got 24 bids. So there's certainly some blue sky above this car. That being said, there are a few things that this car is missing. It doesn't have carbon ceramic brakes. It doesn't have the super ultra rare racing bucket seats. And it doesn't have the optional sort of BBS mesh wheel. If it had those 3 things, I think this car would be in store for around a $250,000 close. But lacking any one of those 3 unicorn options in addition to the manual is probably going to hold it back somewhat. So I don't think it's going to go that high. JP, what do you think? I know you love convertibles. I know you love black, and I know you love stick. Is this the ultimate Polnik Ferrari?
I believe it is. I think you might be onto something here. I would certainly rather have this car than anything that comes after it. A 488, 458, keep it. I don't care. I don't care if they're worth 3 times as much. This car is the car to drive. I think lacking those items that you mentioned maybe is kind of good news. Maybe this car actually gets driven. Maybe this car doesn't just get hermetically sealed and stuck in a warehouse somewhere to sit and languish in a collector's collection to just be looked at. This car, because it's set up and it's not the perfect collector car configuration, may actually see some asphalt, and I sure hope it does. Look at that gated shifter. Oh, man, that is just such a thing of beauty. Such a thing of beauty.
Yeah, 500 horsepower, JP. And this car does not have a timing belt. It has a timing chain. So there's no dropping the motor to do a service every 5 years. This car is actually really easy to live with. And despite all the history of the gated shifter, the one that's in this car is a German unit. It's very easy. It's a light throw. It's very positive engagement. It's easy to move around the gates, and the clutch isn't that heavy, and the pedals aren't off space to the right like they were in the early 308s from the 70s and 80s. This is a beautiful driving car, and collectors are recognizing that because they're bringing absurd money. This car is going to close for a dollar amount that's higher than you could purchase a F430 Scuderia, sort of the GT3 version of this model. So anyways, out of Las Vegas, Nevada, at $170,000. I believe in the car. I think there's 50 grand left in it. I'm going to say $222,000.
$222,000. I don't disagree with that, and I was going to say 220. Yeah, you stole my bid again. There's a little driving video for you guys here. I'm going to go a little under. I'm just going to go a little under because I'm with you, lacking those couple of things. It's got 11,000 miles on it. I'm going to say 215. And hey, we recognize that road. Look at that.
Yeah, we do.
There's a little Las Vegas for you. Gotta love that. Okay. All right. Well,
JP, you and I have never driven that road that slow.
I know, right? What the heck is going on, man? Come on, dude. There's more. The right side. Oh, man. Dude, I should get some video up of last weekend. We're all just sitting here watching the video here. Okay, let's move on to the next car. Wow, what a cool car. We should have reached out and done a test drive with this one instead of...
I know.
Yeah, okay. What do we got next?
Okay, so we're going to stay on Bring a Trailer out of Germantown, Tennessee. We're looking at a really cool 2012 Cadillac CTS V Wagon 6-speed. So, JP, I had to look because these cars only cost $75,000 brand new. This particular one was around $72,000 MSRP. It's very low miles, but not like undriven miles. It's 21,000 miles on an 8-year-old car. So clearly somebody used it for the weekends. There are no shortage of CTS wagons available in the marketplace, but I double dog dare you to find another manual gearbox that's got less than 70,000 miles on it. This car is kind of a unicorn in the marketplace, and that's why this thing is going to bring ridiculous money. Utilizing the 6.2 liter V8 that's supercharged from the Corvette ZR1. This is a mother of a motor. 550 horsepower, 550 pound-foot of torque, Brembo brakes, like Caro seats, sway steering wheel, alloy wheels, and that grille. Oh, man, the facade on the front of this car is beautiful, whereas the rear end of this car, Esther says it looks like a mom wagon, and you could throw a stroller in it. I think the front end of this car in black, like Darth Vader's ride. I love these things, and the stick makes it that much cooler. This car is sitting at $65,000 with a couple hours to go, and it's already got 24 bids. So I believe this car is going to bring over a sticker, which is amazing to me. What do you think? You have any experience with these? Have you driven one?
I've never driven a manual one, so yes, they have a ton of power and they are fun to drive. It's neat. I've driven the wagons and stuff, and it's like, okay, great, it's a power wagon, neat, whatever. I cannot get past the styling. It is one of those things that you either love or just absolutely, it's repellent as far as I'm concerned. I cannot look at any Cadillac. I do not like those beard lines. And they've had this design language for quite a while now, since the mid-aughts or whatever, and they've stuck with it. Right. And I think it's cool that they have a language that they that makes their cars at least look distinctive. I agree with you that if this car were in black and all black, it would be something fierce. It would kind of cover up some of that weirdness to their design language. It would just make it a monster, but this car really doesn't do it for me, except the fact that it is a manual. It does have all that power. I appreciate that this car exists. Does this car perform better than the Ferrari F430 that we were just talking about?
No. Nope.
He's like, nope, with that big supercharged LS motor in there.
No. No, this car probably weighs 1,000 pounds more than that Ferrari.
How about in a straight line?
Still won't do it. Not enough.
Okay. All right. Well, there you go.
If they made this in an all-wheel drive, that would help it give it a shot against that Ferrari. But no, it will not take that Ferrari in a straight line.
Well, what's your bid?
So interesting. Again, $72,000 was the MSRP. It's sitting at $65,000, down in Tennessee and not way up in the snow belt near the Canadian border. So the question is this car going to break $80,000? And I looked and I couldn't find another stick with low miles, so I think it is, even though it's bright blue. I'm going to say $81,000, and I think it sells there.
$81,000, he says. Okay.
Yep.
And I really don't know. This is such a weird car, and you're absolutely right that it's as rare as it can be. And I know people absolutely love these. I'm gonna go just a little under you and go $1,000 under.
Okay, so you're gonna 80 grand.
Yeah.
All right. Wah, 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 wah.
Bit of a guess.
Undercut.
I mean, maybe this thing sees Sky, and because it is such a rare car and people do love them, but I don't know. I'm not seeing it.
Yeah, we'll see. All right, cool. Let's jump back over to cars and bids. We've got a 1998 BMW M3, 5-speed manual. This is a convertible with a manual transmission and 100,000 miles. Other than that, no stories, no weirdness. I was a little apprehensive at first when I thought it was out of Houston, Texas, but I looked at the Carfax. And in 2017, when Harvey hit, this car was in Utah. So there's no chance that this was like a flood damaged car. I praise Cars and Bids for offering the history report with all of their auctions, because that allows someone like us to confirm that there's no funny business with this car and a buyer can buy it, with relative confidence. Alpine White is gorgeous on M3s, one of my favorite colors. I love the black interior. JP, are these the Vader seats or not?
I haven't gotten to those pictures yet. I'll get there.
Yeah. Okay. Anyways, really cool car. It's sitting at $11,500 on 17 bid. Definitely get some action. I think this car is going to sell. It's probably a bid or two away from hitting the reserve, and away it goes. Cool
yes,
car.
Those are Vader seats. It's kind of a bummer.
Yeah.
BMW's interiors just take a beating. They don't age very well, but this one seems to have done pretty darn well, especially the convertibles, because the convertibles get a lot more weather on them and everything like that. But you're right, white on black with the Vaders, M3, E36. Most of these cars were so trashed. They were so beat on. They were so inexpensive. The kids got a hold of them and just modded the daylights out of them. And I'm all for modding cars. This car looks like it's pretty much unmolested. The powertrain in this car is bulletproof. They will go forever. You're going to have fun for days and days and days, years and years and years. This car is just a great all-around driver. You can enjoy it in nice weather, especially with the top down. It is like an open shoebox without that top, so these are not as rigid as the coupes, of course. This is one of them. Again, everybody knows me as a cab guy. I'm all for convertibles. Some convertibles are worse than others when it comes to the rigidity of their chassis, and unfortunately, M3s really are susceptible to that looseness of not having a roof. Unlike, say, a 911.
True story. These are terrible at convertibles as far as scuttle and shake and flexing and all that sort of thing. But just for regular driving, they're beautiful cars.
Another thing to consider too in the E36 generation of BMWs, their air conditioning and climate control sucked. So this car is down in Texas, or if you're in Utah or Vegas or even LA, you want to drive a convertible in hot weather. You're hoping that you're gonna have a little bit of cold air cooling your feet at least, or something like that. Or if it's because really if it's less than 100 degrees out, you should be able to put the top down and have some air blowing on you to kind of keep you okay. But this car, even if it's 85 degrees out, the AC is just garbage, absolute garbage. I would rather have an 80s air-cooled 911 AC than the AC that's in these stupid things.
Maybe that's why the guy's selling out of Houston, Texas, JP. He needs something for AC.
That might be it. So, at 11.5 with 17 bids, what's your bid?
Yeah, so I just don't think there's a ton of room left in the car. I'm just going to say $14,000.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good bid. Now, I mean, at 14 grand, you're in E46 M3 convertible territory.
Are you?
Yeah, I mean, E46 M3 convertibles really are not holding their value. The E46 coupes, of course, are. But E46, what's that?
Think about this, though, JP. When you go from the E36 at 240 horsepower and you jump up to the E46, you're going to 333 horsepower. And that's a big performance gain for just a couple dollars more. I would have thought the E46s were bringing higher money. I'm surprised, you say you can get one in the teens. That seems like a great value.
I think if everything were the same, if you had an E4, let's say you had a 2002 E46 M3 convertible with a manual in the same color combination with just 100,000 miles, you're probably looking at close to 20. There are plenty of E46 M3 convertibles in the, call it 140,000 miles that are basically this price. And
wow,
the S52 engine is such a reliable powertrain that
sure.
which one do you get? Really, the E46 is so much better car. That said, E36s that are clean are super, super, super rare. There's a gajillion. They made a bajillion of these cars, but finding one that's not roached is really, really hard. The styling of the E36, it's definitely Radwood, whereas an E46 just doesn't get that kind of love.
Yeah, we did a silver one a couple of weeks ago, convertible silver C36 M3 convertible that brought, I think, around 20 grand.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, I'm actually, as much as I love this car, I'm going to go under you there. I don't think this thing gets more than 13. I'm going to say 13.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I might win one today. All right, here we go. Last car. I should tell the audience really quickly, this was a replacement car because when you and I put our list together, we both picked that 91 Audi 200 Quattro. Funny how that unusual car caught both of our eyes. So we threw in this really cool 1988 BMW M5 out of Tupelo, Mississippi. This car has 62,000 miles, but I should caution the audience. This car was originally a Canadian market car. It sold on Bring a Trailer in September of 2015, and the new owner of that car exported the car to the UK. The current consignor of the car bought it from the guy in the UK and brought it back to the United States in early 2020. He very smartly and astutely brought the car to Enthusiast Auto Group, which is a BMW M specialist out of Cincinnati, Ohio. Eric Keller, I know personally. He is an amazing guy. He and his crew of just complete BMW M nerds have the market cornered. The way Sloan does Porsches and Canepa does Porsches, Eric Keller is become the established guru for BMW M cars. His team can work on cars, modify cars, restore cars, and they sell a ton of M cars. They did all the work on this, and they went through almost everything on it. The list of services that this car has been treated to since it came back from the UK would lead you to believe, after reading the listing, that the car is essentially mechanically refurbished. So despite having 62,000 miles on it, I'd say mechanically this car is ready for another 100 miles of well-for driving miles, and you can enjoy the heck out of it. A lot of these early M5s were driven into the ground and have 200,000 miles on them, and the leather's starting to go and the paint starting to fade. Not a ton of them were modified, but most of them were beat to snot by their owners. So this car actually looks like it could be a decent value. A 60,000 mile E28 M5 should bring around $60,000 to $80,000. But I think because this car is Canadian and UK history, this car might come in closer to $40,000, $50,000 and could end up being a great value for somebody who's looking to drive theirs rather than show it and collect it and speculate on the value. JP, what do you think of these E28 M5s with the individual throttle bodies and 255 horsepower?
Well, what's his name? Chris Harris from The Drive, and this was his first kind of performance car. This is a car that he absolutely loves and talks about on the regular. Mm-hmm. You kind of stole my thunder. I'm thinking like the Ferrari that we talked about earlier, because this car is not a perfect collector specimen. Maybe this one gets to see some asphalt and gets to see. Yeah. Let's drift this sucker. Let's make some YouTube videos out of it. Look at that engine, man. God, that's just a thing of beauty.
Individual butterflies for each cylinder. Basically, BMW M Motorsport took their 3.5-liter racing block, which saw service in the 3.0 CSLs, the Batmobiles. They basically took that block and dropped it in a road car. And this was the first M car that was brought to the United States, and they all came black with tan. Some people got black on black. But they all had black paint job. But this is the first real car It wasn't a market. It was sold in the United States. So every BMW M car that you see on the road, this car is their great-great-grandfather. And so the collectors have just really loved having this car around. They didn't bring that many in. They're still fabulous drivers today, and they're hard to find with low miles. So they bring serious money.
What's your bid?
Okay, that being said, sitting at $30,000, I think if Eric Keller was selling this car, his endorsement would get it up to $60,000. But I think here it's going to be a great value for somebody, and I'm going to say $50,000 it sells. If this auction closes under $45,000, I don't think this car sells. I don't think it meets the reserve.
Yep. I'm with you. I think people want this car in a bad way. It is getting a lot of comments and action. I'm actually going to go on the over on this one. You said, what, 50?
Yep.
I'm going to go 52. Give you a little bit of room there. But I think this car could see some sky. I think it could really take off.
Yeah, it might show up at the last minute. It hasn't got a ton of action, though, JP. It's only $31,000 on 10 bids. So, interesting.
Yeah, I'm keeping my fingers crossed for it. I want to see this car bring some money, but I also want to see it go to someone who's going to drive it. So there it is. I would rather lose to you on my prediction and see someone drive this car and get it out on the road. I hope it does sell. That's all I hope. I hope it sells, and I hope somebody drives it. All right, let's. Well, there it is, guys. That is our favorite cars of the day on Cars and Bids and Bring a Trailer. You've been watching Bid Nerds, your daily nerd out on the most interesting cars on Cars and Bids and Bring a Trailer with two guys that really don't know anything but claim to. My name is John Polnik. We got Michael Deeb over there. Make sure if you're looking for a last-minute Christmas gift for the guy who has everything, guys that are into cars and watches, go out to Guys Custom. That's Guys, GY_X Customs on the Instagram, and you can get yourself one of these custom-made beaded watches. They're made of semi-precious stones and stainless steel and titanium and pearl, and they match them to your specific watch, or you can even get them paint to sample. That's Guys Custom, GYX_Customs on Instagram. That's the only place you can order one. DM them for your custom bracelet today. Michael Deeb, anything else to say before we move on to, this has been a great show.
Yeah, I actually feel good about my bid. I think I might actually win a couple today. Tomorrow, let's see how I did.
Let's see if you catch up and tune in tomorrow and find out if Michael Deeb knows anything. In the meantime, just listen to what I say, and we'll talk to you guys tomorrow on Bid Nerds during the 9 o'clock hour. Thanks for hanging out, guys. Smash that like button and the subscribe and share and all that kind of stuff, too. I hate saying smash that thing. That's just